The room fell silent. I knew something was off the second I opened the envelope. No name on the front, just gold-trimmed paper and the scent of synthetic roses. The kind she wore in that cheap perfume he pretended not to notice. Inside, an invitation to her birthday gala, scrawled in her assistant's handwriting. She never touched ink if she could delegate it. It was strange. Not the invite itself, she loved theatrics, but the timing. Just 2 months after my father's sudden death. Just 6 weeks after I was announced as the new head of the family business. Just 5 days after I noticed she'd stopped looking me in the eyes. Now she was smiling through cardstock. Please join me in celebrating another year of life, family, and legacy. Legacy. That word hit like frost on bone. I stood in front of the mirror that night and rehearsed my expressions, smiling without baring teeth, polite nods timed to music I wouldn't enjoy. Her kind of crowd, donors, old money, snakes in silk. I wasn't ready, but I went anyway, because snakes never hiss until you walk too close. She welcomed me with a performance. Air kissed to each cheek, arms outstretched like she was crowning me queen of the damned. Her diamond-studded bracelet scraped the back of my neck like a threat. "You came, darling," she beamed. "How brave!" That word again. I smiled. Wouldn't miss it. Her eyes flicked over me, not lovingly, measuring. Every guest she greeted had something to say about her charm, her taste, her strength after tragedy. No one mentioned her daughter, her real daughter, standing in a corner with a champagne flute and eyes full of envy. Not one person had asked why she wasn't running the company, or why I, the stepdaughter, the outsider, was sitting in my father's leather chair now. But I knew why. Because I'd earned it. Because he chose me. Because behind her honeyed words, she was rotting with resentment. Still, I sipped my drink, smiled at her friends, took in every look her daughter gave me, half pity, half venom. And when the lights dimmed and the pianist slowed his notes, I thought maybe the worst had passed. Until she picked up the microphone. The first words out of her mouth were calm, a toast, thank yous, stories about youth and resilience. Laughter floated like perfume through the chandelier glow. Then her voice cracked. Her hand trembled just enough to draw attention, and she said it. She stole the family business from my daughter. The room gasped. She manipulated my dying husband, your friend, your mentor, to sign it over to her. She poisoned his mind. No one moved. She is not blood. She is not family. She is a fraud. Eyes turned. The kind of silence that sucks the air from your lungs swept over the room. Then came the booze. Soft at first, then surging like a storm. Champagne flutes shattered. Someone shouted, "Get her out!" Security moved. Hands gripped my arms. Cold, hard, unforgiving. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I let them drag me out, heels scraping marble, out into the cold. 2 hours later, I walked back in. No coat, no words, just a folder in my hand and a truth burning my throat. The room fell silent. I walked straight to her, every eye watching, every heartbeat crashing like a wave. I stopped 3 feet from the podium, held up the folder, and said, calm, deliberate, "Would you like to read this out loud too?" She hesitated, eyes scanning mine for a crack in composure. There was none. She took it with fingers that shook worse now. Inside, the original signed trust documents. Video footage of his last will reading. A notarized letter in my father's own handwriting, written 3 days before his death, declaring his intent. He gave it all to me. Not because I asked, because I wasn't asking, because I didn't want power. I earned his respect. Because I was the only one who never lied to him. She read the letter. Her lips curled, then broke. She tried to speak, some trembling excuse about grief, about misunderstanding. But the room had already turned again. On her, I leaned in, my voice barely above a whisper. I knew you'd do this. That's why I recorded the rehearsal. Her eyes snapped up. I smiled. Nice practice run. Shame it wasn't better scripted. I turned to the crowd, held up a USB. She rehearsed that speech for a week, cried in the mirror, practiced fake tears, said she'd ruin the bitch who stole her crown. Her words. Gasps, and finally, her daughter stepped back from her. I looked at her once, then walked away. Not to win, not to gloat. Just to end it. She made it a war. I made it a reckoning. I didn't need the applause, didn't wait for their pity. I walked out into the cold again, alone this time, but taller, colder, cleaner. Because revenge isn't fire, it's ice in your veins. It's silence in a room full of liars. It's watching the person who tried to destroy you unravel, slowly, publicly, and never having to say a word. My father once told me power isn't given, it's taken, with silence, with strategy, and with patience. Tonight, I proved him right, and I never looked back.